Thank you for joining Shine 180, Stories of Lives Transformed by Jesus. Today, I have the privilege of being with Jackie. She is local, been here in the area for many years, born and raised. I'm so excited to have you today. Thanks, Jackie, for being here with us.
For sure, yeah. Thanks for having me.
We've been able to touch a little bit on what God is doing in your life and the story. Just tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how it was in the child of being Jackie.
Sure. So I actually wasn't born and raised here in this area, but in Illinois for sure. I was born in Florida, and then when I was just 2, we moved to Illinois.
Okay.
And then I was raised on a farm, and my stepdad was pretty abusive, so I feel like we had like a abusive house growing up. But at the time, I really didn't know that. You just think like this is life,
Normal. Yeah.
So then when I was like 13, my mom ended up leaving my stepdad and we moved to Gibson City. And that's when I'm like, oh, life's going to be so much better now. It's just everything's going to change. Well, that was like actually not what happened. My mom was a pretty good mom up until she left him. And then I feel like she went into like drugs and kind of like being friends with us more than like being our parent. So then I ended up leaving home at 15.
Wow.
Because there was just so much chaos in my home. Like our house had been raided a few times by the police and just like chaos all the time. Like you don't feel safe, you know, like, and we lived in like government housing and stuff, which it was pretty nice, but just like the stigma of like, oh, we live in government housing, like they all look the same and like everybody at school knew. And like, I didn't want people to come over. I was like embarrassed where like all my friends were like, no, you're the fun house. Your mom's cool. I'm like, okay, like come on over, So we were like the fun house. And we had like just so many chaotic moments though, like where if like one of our friends didn't have like drugs or something, my mom would get so mad, like, well, get out of my house. Like I just didn't feel safe there. So I ended up leaving when I was 15 and I got a job at a dog food factory. And I just started living with roommates and just kind of like doing my thing. But I knew that I had to finish school, right? So when I was 16, I went to Chicago Job Corps. And that's just like a school for 16 to 24-year-olds where you can go and get your education. I think it's really for like kids who kind of like lost their way and just like need help. So I ended up doing that. And then I graduated. I got my GED. I did like a computer tech school, something like that. And then I came back to, like, where my mom was. She was renting a place, and it was just the same thing, I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm 17 by then. So then that's when I came up to Kankakee.
Okay. And then once you moved back here, did you live with your mom?
I lived back with my mom when I was 17, but then that was the last time. Like, I kind of came back. The same things were happening. I think the house got raided again. And then she went to live with one of her boyfriends, and she had my little brother who was autistic, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
Like, I really felt like, she had a lot going on, and I'm like, well, I can just take care of myself.
Right.
But I needed somebody, But I really felt like, oh, I got this. I can do it. I wanted to, like, go out and, like, figure out a way and then, like, come back and help, I don't know. But, yeah, I ended up coming to Kankakee, and then I started working at the homestead. Have you ever heard of it?
I remember
that was like
it.
my first job coming here. I was 18, and the owner was super nice. I ended up renting a place like on the property from him.
Okay.
And I was just working there and like living there for a while, and then I rented like another place, and that's when I turned 21, and I started working at the bar.
Okay.
And I met a doctor. And back then, like, MySpace was really big.
Yes, I remember.
So it was like the internet was starting to pop, like you put your background up and like your song and everything. So I met this doctor, and he was older than me, but, at the time I'm like, wow, he's a doctor. Like, I didn't really care how old he was. I didn't really see people for what they looked like anyway. I was just like, he's smart and, it's a good man. So we started chatting, and he did help me. He was a good person, I would say like, oh, I really need this, I need that. And he'd just send me the money in the mail. Like literally like cash. Like I'd open it up, newspaper, and it's like thousands of dollars. And it's like, go to the dentist. I'm like, oh my God, so nice. So then I'm working at the bar, and I had gotten sick. I had a cold. I'm like, just a regular, like, cough, not feeling well. And then he's like, well, I'm going to call you up some medicine. Just go pick it up at the Walgreens or whatever. So I did, and it was a full bottle of Norco and like a Z-Pack. So an antibiotic and then the Norco. And I asked, like, well, what's the other one for? And he's like, well, it's going to make you feel better. It also doubles as a cough suppressant. So I'm like, okay, I didn't not believe it.
Right.
I had no idea really what Vicodin or anything was then.
Is that what it is?
It was
A
Norco.
Okay.
But yeah, I think people call it one or the other. I'm not
Okay.
really sure. But it was just like a prescription painkiller.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. And so I took one and I did feel good. Like, I felt really good. Like, I got a lot of cleaning done. Like, couldn't even feel my throat anymore. Like,
Aww.
I was like, I went to work. I had like organized the whole bar area and like did stuff that we don't normally do. I was just like, wow, like that was really amazing. Then I took the rest of it. It was mine. It was my bottle, had my name on it. Like I didn't think I was doing anything wrong.
Right.
But then it was just one bottle turned into another, and by then I'm addicted to it. And that went on for several years before the opioid pandemic really hit. And then he was getting nervous about like getting caught and stuff. And he would always tell me like he wanted me to stop, and I'm like, why? What is the problem? Like,
Right.
I really didn't know that there was ever a problem, but now that you started me on it, it's like now I'm addicted. So I really didn't understand why he wanted me to stop, but at some point I had the feds come to my door and question me about him and say that, he had a lot of other women, and they wanted me to like tell on him, but at the time I was really like, no, I care for him, and
Right.
I'm
Right.
telling him to prescribe them for me, but he's the one that has the medical license and he's in charge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So that lasted for years.
Oh yeah, like we went on dates and we went places. Like I
Yeah.
really loved him.
Right.
He really replaced like that caretaker for me too.
That father figure.
Yeah, and he would always make sure that I had what I needed. Then when I went around my family, I would always pay for everything. I always had money, and it just felt good to really like have it together.
Right.
But it wasn't mine, it was his, and it wasn't honest.
So then what did that lead to? Were you addicted to prescription drugs did it lead to anything else?
I was addicted to prescription pills for so long, and I would like hide them and stuff. So like I met my son's father at the time at the bar, and he was just a jail guard. He worked at the Kankakee Jerome Combs Detention Center, and I always saw like the police and like people like at the jail and stuff like, oh my God, like I remember when I was younger and like the police always came for like my stepdad, and they always took him to jail.
Right.
So, I like seen them as like, wow, they're the heroes.
Yeah.
So when he would come in and like flirt with me and stuff, I'm like, oh, wow, I think this is going to be my new life, I knew he wanted to be a cop too, so I really saw it as like start with him from the bottom and kind of like work my way up with him, like with his dreams, So we started dating, and I still had the doctor, and I told him like, I'm not really ready for all that. Like, let's wait. I had just gotten out of like another relationship that I was with somebody else, and he was like, no, like we really should do this. So we ended up getting a place together, and we got pregnant pretty quick. Like 2 months later, I'm pregnant. And then he got the job to be a cop, pre-police. I'm like, okay. And then he went off to like the police academy. I stayed at home 3 months. We did all that, and everything seemed pretty good, but I had my addiction that, like he knew about it, but I don't think he knew like the depths of it. Like I was hiding pills from him. Like as soon as I got my bottle, I would like take 5 out and like go put them somewhere else. And then like it would be like my like saving grace at the end, when the bottle ran out or whatever. And then at some point during our relationship, I actually went to an inpatient rehab. And like he was there for me through all that and everything.
Awesome.
And then I ended up leaving the bar because I was like, it's really the lifestyle. But he didn't care about the doctor thing. He was like, that's fine. Like, he's benefiting. I don't think there's a problem with that. But now looking back, I'm like, no, like there is a problem with that. You know, like you can't love someone and then like also allow them to like be with someone else, you know? We ended up, that's how it was, you know, I had him and then I was with my son's father and he was with me through rehab and all that. And then I left the bar and I started working at Cigna Healthcare. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do like a regular job and kind of
Yeah.
like do life normal.
And you were pregnant with your son?
I had my son, and he was like 2 years old, and everything was great. You know, he was colic, and breastfeeding didn't work out for me. You know, I ended up switching to formula, and he was allergic to milk, so it was like so many different
Oh my
formulas. We ended up
goodness.
settling with Nutramigen, which was like the stinkiest one, but yeah, he was such a light, you know, like just everything that I ever wanted. Like I'm gonna be like such a good mom, and hold on, I'm gonna cry.
And you are a good mom.
Thanks.
You are.
Then like I would come home from work like at lunchtime because I worked in the day and he worked at nights. And he would just like be awake with like our nanny and I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. And like I really felt like I had this strong like intuition then, like little nudges like from God, you know, but like I didn't know how to handle it then, you know. I was just self-destructed every time like something went wrong. I would just like do something bad also
Right.
instead of like handling it the right way.
Which we all do at times.
So, of course, you know, like all the accusations came about and like arguing and all that. And then I decided to leave. He didn't want me to leave, but I was like, no, I'm going to leave. And I had found someone else by then. Our nanny moved in like right after I moved out. Like literally the day I moved out, she was moved in, like into the bedroom, not like as the nanny, but like as his girlfriend. So like my intuition was right. It was spot on, but I was an addict. I was still an addict. So my addiction got worse because, you know, now I'm going through all this stress. And when you're having addiction, like the stress makes it so much worse. Like it just intensifies it because you want to cope, you know, like
Right.
it's like you're just searching for anything to like ease the pain, I guess. So I kind of like switched the stories up a little bit, but like the doctor was still there up until after I left my ex. And then, you know, once he did finally leave, that was when I just didn't have it anymore. Like I didn't have the pills. I didn't have the way to get my prescription. So I went to like a gas station, just like it was actually in Hopkins Park because I just knew, like I had known the area, I had known around, you know, like I just knew about it. So I was like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to just wait around until I see somebody that I think can help me. You know, I had some people who were like, she's the police. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Aw.
And like I did have police plates because my plate said police memorial on it. It's like just for somebody that like supports police, you know.
Right.
But I found somebody and they drove me like around the corner and I like got my first bag of heroin. I took it home and I just snorted it all by myself. Like I didn't have anybody there with me, and that's when that started. And then I did that for about 10 months, and by then I had met like other people that were doing it, and like kind of like got a little circle. And then that was when I went to prison. I
Okay.
had met somebody who was dealing, and I feel like I always did that. Like I always tried to find the person that like had it. You know, like who's the person in charge here?
Yeah. Right. Go to the top.
Yeah. So I ended up going to prison. I was in a hotel, and before that, like I was praying, and I'm just like, what does my life came to? You know, like I'm just looking around, like where my son's not here. Well, I had another son too. Like when I first lost my son, I was in Chicago and I had my son with me and I had a boyfriend by then and we were just hanging out and we had gotten into an argument and I went to a hotel because I was like, well, this is unsafe to be arguing and all that. So I just like went to the hotel and I had a few drinks and then I went to sleep and then I woke up and my son was gone. And I'm like, where's my son? like, I was naked. So then I like ran outside of the hotel room, and I went down to the front desk, and he was there with all these cops. And then I went to jail, which I felt like I should have been like finding out what happened. And I didn't remember anything, but they were like, "Well, who's his dad?" So I gave the cops his number, and they called him. I don't know what the conversation was, but I ended up getting arrested for child endangerment. And I really wanted to fight that case, but I was in such a low place. And like, they were like, if you just plead guilty, then you're going to get court supervision and then it'll be off your record. So I was just defeated. I'm like, fine. So then that started like my DCFS case, and I passed like every drug test. I did everything right.
Right.
I just like was on my track of like getting my son back. My mom had told me at that point that my dad wasn't my dad, so it kind of like threw a wrench into things.
Yeah.
But I really thought like, oh, this is gonna be a good thing, which it kind of was for a while. He helped me with my son. I had my other son at the time, and he took him while I went to prison for 3 years, but I didn't go to prison for what happened with my son. I had went to prison for drugs.
Okay.
Because I was like sober for all that time, and then I was fighting for my son.
Right.
But then like after like 2 years of like nothing happening and like still being on supervised visits, I was just like, at some point, you know, those 2 weeks in between, I'm just like, you know, there's nothing happening. It's just the same thing, like over and over again. They're just like watching me, and then like I just started using again because I couldn't cope. So when I had my second son, he was only like 4 weeks old when I started using again. And then that was when the doctor left. He was only like 4 weeks old. So it was like then, and it was like 10 months that it just took me so fast. Like, you know, you hear of people being like on it for so long, and like, I just feel like it just took me so fast before I was in prison. And so when I went to prison, when I went to court, they said, well, you can go to boot camp, and then if you do the boot camp, you'll go home in 120 days.
Okay.
So I thought, well, that's a good thing. Like, this is going to be good for me. Like, you know, I really need something like that.
Yeah.
Like rehab or some kind of a program. Like, definitely, I think prison is like the last place for somebody to go, like, that has an addiction.
Right.
But, you know, it happens all the time. So I took the boot camp, and then when I went to prison, I'm only there for 3 weeks, and there's this officer, and we're talking and just flirting back and forth and stuff, and you know, I didn't see it as a bad thing. I had already heard things about the prison and just like how it goes, so I kind of already expected that was how it was going to go, but instead of turning it down and being like, leave me alone, you know, I was just like stepping into it. And, you know, not actually thinking that anything serious is going to happen. Like, who thinks that's actually going to happen? You know, like, I never in a million years would have thought that I would be in prison and then a guard would be pulling me out and we are going to have sex. Like, there's no way. Like, it was just beyond my wildest imagination. But it happened. He pulled me out of my cell at like 4 a.m, and it was kind of typical to come out pretty early because I did trays for like the other inmates. I was a boot camper, so the boot campers would like clean and do trays, and like we had a lot more like leniency and like we could leave and stuff. So I got out to do that, but I left pretty early, and then we went into the laundry room, and like things kind of like started, but I got so scared and like my body just started shaking, like I just couldn't do it, you know, like I felt like, who would want to do that? If somebody's shaking that bad, like I just wouldn't even want to do that, but like, so I ran back up to my cell, then he came back up there and kind of like, well, why'd you do that? Like, let's get back down here and finish what you started. So then I'm like, you know, like I just wanted to get it over with at that point, just like, I'm just going to get this over with. So then I went back down there, and then that's when we had sex, and then the next morning, like, I reported it because I was like,
This can't be right.
yeah, I'm like, this is not going to keep happening, clearly, right? But he did tell me if I told that I wouldn't go to boot camp. And I also was like, there's no way. And they told me, like, you won't not go to boot camp. If you tell us the truth, that was wrong. He should have never did that. I believed it. I was like, okay. So I felt safe to tell my story and say this is what happened. And they did a rape kit and everything. Everybody was so nice to me, like the nurses, everybody, they were so respectful until the, like, investigator came, like, to investigate the whole thing. Like, he had to come and we had to wait for him and stuff. And then when he came, he was, like, mad. He was like, he had to bring me here. And I was eating dinner with my family, and this better be serious. And I'm like, I didn't tell you to come here. You know, I don't even know what you're doing here. But he was like, had the rape kit, and he was like, if this kit doesn't say that he raped you, you're going to do a lot of time. And I got nervous about that. Like, I don't trust them too. And like, what if it wasn't in there? You know, like, what if, you know, I don't know.
Right.
Like,
What if it was messed with? Right.
There's just no DNA. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But anyway.
Right.
His DNA was inside there.
Good.
But they didn't show me that right away. You know, like, I went on to do my whole 3 years, and they never told me anything.
So you didn't get to do boot camp?
No, I never got to do my boot camp. They took my boot camp. They put me in segregation because he was like, you need to say that, you know, you did this. And I'm like, I did. Okay, I did it. Yeah, I did do it. I did agree to do it. And then he was like, okay, that's all I need to know. And he's writing it down as I'm telling, like, as we're telling the story together. He's telling the story, and I'm just agreeing. He's writing it down. And then he, like, hands me the paper, and I had to sign it. That was my statement. Mm-hmm. But he wrote my statement. I didn't write it. Mm-hmm. So then that's when I lost my boot camp, and they said that I was mentally unstable, that I said all that, and I guess made up the story or whatever they thought. I don't know what they thought, if they thought it was true or not. But when they questioned him, I guess he admitted it, and he got fired. But then it was just, that was it. I had to do my whole 3 years, and he got fired, and that was it. And I'm just like, that's it? Like, there has to be something else. Mm-hmm. So I, like, started filing grievances within the prison, like, please send me back to boot camp. Like, I want to go to boot camp. But, you know, they wouldn't, and I started just getting in trouble for everything. Like, any little thing. I'm in segregation. Like, I'm this hard criminal. I'm like, what is happening? Mm. But then I got a lawyer. I started finding a couple lawyers about my situation, and they were visiting me, and then things just got better. Like, I went to this special wing where I got to see my kids. And, like, I mean, I really got to see my kids. Like, my biological dad would drop them off, and my kids would be, like, in my bed, like, watching my TV, like, opening my box, eating my snacks. Like, they were, like, hanging out with me in there, yeah. They could stay for, like, 6 hours throughout the day. Like, I think it was, like, on Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. But some of the kids lived there all the time. But because I didn't, like, have my baby there, I didn't get to, like... Got it. But because you're on that unit, you're just with, like, nurturing mothers and stuff. You know, it's safer. It was better there. Then I went to work release. So I just got, like, so many opportunities after that. And then we filed our lawsuit. We had to file within 2 years. So we
Of you being released?
Of like me, of it happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did file when I was still incarcerated.
Okay. Which is probably pretty risky.
I think so. We had to refile after I got out.
Okay.
Like, as a free person, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like something with it. Like, if you file as an inmate, it's different as filing as, like, a free person, I guess. So we had to, like, totally refile, which I thought was weird. Like, it should be the same.
Right.
People are people. But the case went on for, like, 6 years. Like, just on and on and on. Like, deposition after deposition and thing after thing, and I'm like, this is never going to end. Like, you think it's never going to end. Like, it just goes on so long that you think that you'll accept next to nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, well, that's fine. Just let me tell my story. Just admit it. Let me tell my story. And, you know, like, I don't care at this point. Like, I just want someone to take accountability for this. But I ended up getting a pretty good offer because this other girl, this happens all the time, apparently, and this other girl went all the way to trial, and she won against Logan Correctional Center for $19 million. Wow. And I think at that point, everybody was like, whoa, this is making a huge statement here. We have all these other people coming up after her. like, what do we do here? So, I mean, that's just my guess. But so then when I went to my final, like, settlement hearing, it was all on Zoom. And I think it started off so high that my lawyer was like, oh, this is a real one. Because sometimes you go in there and they just give you, like, the lowest offer, like it's not even serious. Then we ended up settling with $3.3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with that settlement, did it make you feel justified, or what kind of satisfaction did that bring you?
I think so. It was like there was like a point in there where they were telling me that I had to sign the NDA, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I will not. Like, you're gonna have to go way higher to where I can just take off and like literally go off grid forever.
Right,
No,
right,
I mean, I didn't say that, but
right,
you know,
right,
I was
right.
just being.
No, I was said, did it bring you satisfaction?
Oh
You
yeah,
felt,
it did. It brought me so much satisfaction when they wanted me to sign the NDA, and I was like, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. And then my lawyer like fought for me there, which like I always thought I was going to have like this big moment in like court, but like that was kind of like my moment, like
Yeah.
on the Zoom, like where I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm going to continue to tell my story. And they couldn't. Like there was
Right.
nothing they could do. They were like, yeah, she
Right.
didn't have to sign it.
So that was just a few years ago. And I know you mentioned along your path, like you prayed to the Lord, like, is this my life? Is this what's happening? And he kind of like let you know that he was there and with you. But when did you feel like you made that surrender of like, okay, you are obviously blessing me with this gift after all the hard that you had to walk through. But when did you make that surrender? Like, this is all going to be about you now, Jesus.
I had always believed in the Lord. Like ever since a little girl, like my mom took me to church, and there was just like all the time I'd close my eyes and be praying to God, you know, like, and I was a big dreamer. Like I would daydream about different things happening and stuff like that. But then when I went to prison, it was like I remember praying for that. Like I prayed for God to take addiction from me, and like. I just like, wow, please take this from me. And then the next day the door got kicked in. I think I was going to talk about that, and then I missed out on that. But it was
So
like
the day before you prayed that addiction would be taken, and the next day you had you got raided.
there was like a raid, yeah. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I don't think in the moment I knew, but then it was just like later on, like just a couple years ago, sitting in now where I am now. Like it all just kind of like hit me, like where I went backwards, started doing shadow work, and I'm like, oh my God, like this was all on purpose. Like this was all
God
to get
working.
me to come to him. Like he literally stripped everything from me. He's like, okay, you're going to pray to me and ask me for help, but you're not doing right. So he literally took everything from me. My car got repoed. I had a place in my house. I got evicted. I lost my kids. You know, I had already lost my oldest, and then my second son went to live with my biological dad. So that's pretty much everything, you know. It's my clothes, too, because I had to go to prison. You know, that's like everything. I had all my stuff in storage. I couldn't pay for that, so I lost all that. So he literally just strips you of everything and says, like, now what? You know, like, who are you now without me? And I really felt like, wow, you know, like I needed to come to him. He needed to separate me from everything else and put me in a separate space and say, look, you know, wake up. And then after the case like finally settled, I just was like blown away. Like this is like, I don't know if it's like 3 times back or what the saying is, but like you get like a certain 3 times back if you submit to the Lord or something. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get everything back. Like I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna buy a car. Like
You're like the modern day Job. Everything was taken from him, and then God gave it all back.
Yeah.
So now this is 10 years since you've even been in prison. The settlement is done. Now you do have your beautiful family, more children. God is giving you abundance in many ways and in many blessings. But I think what stood out to me the most is when we, you know, got to have coffee is your generosity and like how you want to use it for God's good. And generosity was shown to you in ways, but sometimes people were manipulating you, you know, like to get something in return. But it just seems like you are giving out of the goodness of your heart and for the glorifying of God, which is so amazing to watch. and to see and have you share. So tell me a little bit about like some of the blessings that you've received just in the past few years and in the surrender. And then now like you're just submitting to the Lord, like your way, God, your way.
Well, at first, I thought, life was done, like,
Yeah.
what else is there? You always think, like, money is gonna fix everything,
Yeah.
like, okay, well, now I can do everything. I can get my oldest back because, you just, in the
Right.
moment, you think money is gonna fix
Right.
everything.
Right.
But it doesn't. It truly doesn't. It's not everything, like, it didn't bring me happiness. Like, I even was like, I feel like I had everything, like, material wise, but then, like, I just didn't have, like, anybody, like, I don't know, like, I didn't have, like, myself. It wasn't like my husband or my kids or anything. It was like I didn't love myself. So I was, like, still, like, searching for, like, something. I didn't know what it was. But it was the Lord. I started, like, crying, like, just like, what is going on? I'm, like, giving you all the glory. Like, show me what's happening. So, like, I started, like, hearing him. It wasn't, like, a man's voice. It was, like, my voice. But, like, I started just, like, hearing him tell me things. Like, there was, like, this house, for example. We were going to buy this investment property. And I'm like, okay, real estate is pretty solid. Like, I don't know why I'm crying. Real estate's pretty solid. So, like, I'm going to go into real estate. And there was this home. And it was gorgeous. I'm like, it's so nice. It's in Kankakee. I'm like, for the price, like, this is such a nice house. But I don't know. There was something telling me, like, to walk away from this. But I didn't know why that was happening. I'm just like, but I always was, like, very open about how I feel. Like, if something's happening, I'm just going to say it. Like, I don't hold things in. I'm like, God told me no, we need to walk away. And everybody's like, she's nuts.
Right,
like,
right.
My husband, like, our realtors, like, no, this is a good deal. And, you're going to take it as is because that's how you're going to get the better deal. You got to take the house as is. So it was like, even right there, I was like, there's something weird about this. But we ended up getting the house. I didn't listen to the Lord because by then I'm just like, I don't know. But that was the last time that I stopped, that I didn't listen because we had some pipes burst and we had, like, a flood from those pipes. Then after that, we had a fire. The house burnt. Like, we had.
So you're like, okay, God, I hear you now.
It wasn't even livable. Like, we had to
Right.
totally renovate the home. And, like, I was like, I told you so. Like, I'm telling everybody. And my husband was like, yeah, I will always listen to you. And it's discernment. Like,
Yeah.
you have to listen. Like, when something is telling you, like, inside, I don't know why it happens, but it does. And that's God. I really feel like that's God.
Well, and especially now that you have that connection with him and you want him in your life and he's the source of your hope and your joy and your love and he's completing you, right? He's making you whole again.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been through such hard stuff. And I think that's the importance of sharing our stories is being able to let people know they're not alone in this journey. Like, we all have hard things we walk through, different circumstances, but we all need a savior. We all have that God-sized hole in our life that only God's going to fill. Yeah. And that's just so much of your story is that you had so much harm as a child and you're trying to fill it with so many other things that is justifiable. Like, who wouldn't do that in your shoes? Who wouldn't walk in your shoes and do what you did? But now that you can come to the place where you know that it's God that's going to totally give you that peace and that you have that connection with him now, that you know that his voice is that overwhelming thought in your head. And I totally get it where when God speaks to you, it's not a man's voice where it's like this overwhelming thought that that comes from the Lord, right?
Yeah.
That it can only be from him. And so like when people share that story, share that with me, I'm just like, yes, I know that's so true. So how beautiful. So now in your journey with your faith, like what keeps you like on track, like on fire? I know I'm going on the right way. I mean, I know you're doing a lot of healing and counseling and therapy, which a wise man seeks counsel. It's even in the Bible. So I think it's so wise to seek counseling. But what is keeping you on the right path now?
Well, I really feel like it's not just like a one-time thing, like, oh, I'm going to get baptized and then just like submit to the Lord, and that's it. And I think that's how I felt before. Like, I didn't really know what to do. I'm just like, well, what else do I do? Like, I could go to church. Yeah, like, I've been to church plenty of times, but I really didn't feel like I was getting, like, to where I wanted to be, I guess. I love going to church.
Right.
Like, absolutely love community, but it's just, there was just something more. I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was. But then it was relationship. It was the everyday, like, just like constantly working on it, like every day when I wake up, before I grab my phone, I pray. And not just like pray, I hit the floor. Like, I'm on my knees every single morning, and it pops into my head, like, get on your knees. And I'm just like, okay, fine. Like, I'll get all the way on my knees. So I get on my knees and I pray every morning. And
So it's daily surrender.
yeah, I read one page in the Bible at least every day and just try to understand, which I have a pretty easy to read Bible. And just relationships, sitting alone and being with yourself. And for me, I'm like spending time with the Lord, right? But then I look back like, well, I'm alone. And then I've loved myself now. Like, I think I just spent so much time with myself that I'm like, well, I really love myself now.
Which is beautiful because you're a creation of the Lord. And to be able to watch your story unfold, because I got to know you through your social media, it definitely blew up. Your social media did. And you point everyone to the right reason of your blessings. Like, you give God the glory in a lot of your walk in your social media. And I think that's beautiful that he gave you a platform to be able to influence people towards Jesus. So if there's one person listening right now that might be struggling with addiction or anything that they're having a hard time releasing and letting go of, what would your advice be to them? What would your encouragement be?
I would first say that it takes a lot to admit that, because it is so hard to admit that like a substance has any kind of power over you. So number one, that's so major that someone even reached out to another person to say, hey, what do I do here?
Right.
That's already like 80% of it. Like, you've done the hard part.
Right.
I would say to find community, get into meetings, and find other people that are like you, because staying in the same environment is really what keeps people to go back to that same thing. It's like you have to change your people, places, and things, and sometimes you have to keep it that way. Like, it's not just a break. Like, it's just your life now. And like, you can still love those people that, some of those people are your family. Some of them are your for me, my mom, she's so close to me, but it's like you have to love those people from a distance, like, well, I forgive you, but I just need, to
Boundaries.
have my own life now. You know?
Right. So music-wise, I know you shared with me one of your favorite artists is Jelly Roll.
Yeah, I love Jelly Roll. It's so cool.
So his surrender towards Jesus recently has been unreal, like his Grammy Award speech. But his song Hard Fought Hallelujah with Brandon Lake.
Yeah.
Is that one of your favorites?
I love it. Yeah, for sure.
So it needs to be our theme song for this podcast today. Any other worship song that is like on repeat or one of your favorites that you cling to or hold on to?
I don't know if it's a worship song, but I really like Saved Me by Jelly Roll. It just kind of reminds me of, just people struggling with their own self, and then you can come to the Lord and really get better and kind of heal yourself with the Lord.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And his wife, Bunny, too, she's like so cool, too. We have a lot of similar things. She just came out with her book, and I haven't read it yet, but I've been seeing like people talk about it. And she went through a lot of the same things that I went through. I really want to read it, but I'm writing a book also.
And I wonder if she's surrendered yet to the Lord too. Like,
yeah, she talks
because
about it.
oh, she does.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, because you can't be married to somebody who's that like on fire for Jesus, like now how Jelly Roll is, and have that not influence you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful. Well, it's been beautiful to hear your story, to hear it more in depth. Thank you for sharing today. Thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.
Your
for having
beautiful
me.
family. Thank you, Jackie, for being here today. You're a beautiful person inside and out. I have a beautiful family, and I am honored to be able to get to know you better and hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.